Hello guys, how y'all doing today? Thanks for coming by. Today, I'm going to be looking at that front fender and seeing if I can't figure out a way to get that cut to the right size that I would like and radius it to where it actually contours the shape of the tire instead of being incorrectly radiused. And so let me show you what I got going on. Alright, so the plan is to take this electrical tape and put it on the tire where I would like it the fender to cover. And I've moved this in multiple different positions trying to eyeball it and see which I like, whether I want it up high or down low or how far forward I want it. And then I took my tape measure and measured from here to here. That will give me the length of the tire. And I know that I want it to be at least 2 inches above the tire all the way around. So I'll add 2 inches to both ends of the fender when I cut it. That'll give me 2 inches up and 2 inches back. Okay? So that's the plan. And that right there, the way I have it, I'm pretty happy with that. And I want to be sure to cut it long, not too short if I do anything. So I think that'll be fine. That's 20.5 inches. So add 2 inches on each end for the up and the back. And that would be 24.5 inches off of that fender. So that's where I'm going to start. For those of you who watched my last video about the brakes hanging up, I discovered that I had this nut right here that holds all this stuff together too tight, and there's supposed to be clearance so all these different mechanisms can flex, and I had it bound up and it wasn't flexing, so it wouldn't let that spring back there pull it back. I took that lock washer and nut off of there and replaced it with an eye lock, and now these all flex like they're supposed to, and it does pull it back just that little bit more than it needs to work like it's supposed to. So yeah, I didn't have to add any extra springs or anything like that to make it work right. Well, that's yay, right? Yay! Alright, let's get back to this fender. Alright, so I have my fender up here, and I measured from this end all the way up to here, 24.5 inches, and I put a mark. And I got to thinking, what if I want to give it some design, you know, round it off on the front? So I'm thinking I'm going to get my compass out and draw a half moon or a circle on this, and see how much bigger I have to make it for that to work. And then I'm thinking, well, do I still want it to stick out farther than that, or do I need to cut that at that point and come back? So I think I'm going to add 1.5 inches on it and do it from there. And if I want to, I can always shave it down later before I finish the install. But the trick is going to be getting it cut off here, and then we're going to cut slots in it periodically on both sides where the curvature is on the edge, up to where it's just the flat part in the middle, and then wrap it around the tire with a tie down and bend the metal to fit the tire, and then weld up the slots so they stay, and then weld them up, grind them down, and it should fit the tire like I want it to. That's the plan. We'll see how it works out. I was reading all your comments about that rear fender, and I was able to pick up on the fact that you guys were not exactly thrilled with that. So I'm still toying with the idea of if I'm going to leave that one like that, or if I'm going to do something different. Maybe this needs trimmed down, maybe it needs cut off and redone. I just haven't made up my mind yet. We'll see. Time will tell about that. For now, I'm not worried about that one. I'm just working on the front one for right now. Well, I've never done this before, but this is the way I'm doing it. I measured it out every 4 inches. That's where I'll cut my slots. And I measured up until the curvature stops, and that's where I'll stop. Because all I want to do is bend the flat part. I don't want to try to bend the curve. It'll have a gap in there that should pull together when I bend it, that I can weld back. And if it's not big enough, I may have to cut it some more to make it bend as much as I want it to. I've also, I don't know if you'll be able to see this because I did it with pencil. And it's probably not showing up very good, but I did my compass and made an imaginary curvature for the front. And I'm going to cut it off straight till I get it bent. And if I like the way it looks, everything, I may cut this off rounded. We'll see. But, okay, that's where I'm at. So I guess it's time to start cutting. It's always like, you're standing back thinking, is that right? Is that right? And you think about it so long, you almost never get nothing done. So I'm just going to do it. I've held it up to the tire and flexed it and imagined it and tried to vision it. So, we'll see. Okay, so I cut my slits in it. I think you can see them. Maybe. And I can tell already, and I cut off the length that I'm going to use. And I can tell already that it's wanting to flex. So I don't think it's going to be that hard to bend. I'm going to clean it up and deburr it before I do that, because I don't want those burrs on there when I'm trying to weld. And the thing tried to fall off the table, and I grabbed it, and I wasn't wearing gloves, and these slits acted like a cheese grater and just cut the crap out of me. I mean, a big old nasty gash here. I'm fixing to wrap it in some gauze and electrical tape, because that's all I have. Now, I just don't believe that Band-Aid is going to stay on there, because it's right there in the bend of my hand. Yeah, let's try that. First aid 101 here. It might work, it might not, I don't know. Anyway, I'll take care of that. You don't need to watch me do that. And then we'll proceed with bending this thing. I started off using one of these really thin cutoff discs. And then what I found was when I tried to bend it, the gap was so small it touched immediately. So I took a wider one and enlarged the gaps in each one of these slits. And that'll give it more room to pull together before the two pieces touch. And I believe it's going to be fine. Check this out. Okay. So I just set this on the tire, and you can see how much it doesn't match the shape of the tire. But when I bend it down like that and hold it and pull it away, isn't much better, huh? So all I got to do is get my tie down strap, put it around the tire and the fender, pull it in, and then weld it on each one of the tips of these slits. Put a spot weld there, then I can take it off and weld it on the bench. So I'll get my strap together and do that. Yeah, there it is with the strap on it. And it's pulled pretty much down to where it needs to be. You see the strap there. Just gotta tack it up. Oh yeah. Alright, so I'm just gonna hold the pieces together with a pair of pliers to make sure they're level, and then put a tack weld on it, on each one of them. And hopefully it'll work. Without me welding the pliers to the dang thing. Which is exactly what I just did. I tried to put a pair of clamps on there, and there's not enough room. So far, I'm not getting what I want. Try this one. Yeah, that one worked. This one's not doing so good. There, I got a little booger on it. Whoops. Whoops. Well, there's one side. So I'll do the other side, and then I can take it off and finish welding it on the table. Well, let's see. If I didn't pop my tire, and it holds its shape, we'll be alright. I should have put some metal up underneath there, huh? Alright, well, looks like it's going to work though. A little discoloration there, but that should brush right off. Cool. Alright. Set up here on the table and finish welding her in. I think I'm going to try to weld it up from the inside. If I get good penetration, that should work. I don't want to burn through it though. And should be interesting, to say the least. Well, I'm going to have to jack it up off the table because I keep catching my table on fire. I might need to turn my setting down a little bit. I'm going to toy with it. It's going to take me a while. Alright, I got her welded up from the inside, and I'm glad I did because you can see how nasty that looks. Talk about Frankenstein. Now I'm going to have to grind those all down and clean them up to give myself a fighting chance of this ever looking good. But yeah, that'll be next. And I turned my welder down to minimum because it's a Harbor Freight. It's got maximum and minimum is the only weld speeds it has. I turned it down to minimum and it worked a little finer without blowing through so easy, but it did really want to blow through easy. So yeah, just so you know, if you ever do that, man, you got to take care. I'm going to clean that up and then I'll show you that. Well, there she is. Welded, somewhat cleaned up. I had to go back over it and fill up the pinholes. And I didn't get the inside of it all cleaned out yet. Somewhat, but not all the way. But let's set it on there and see what it looks like. Alright. Now we got to remember it's going to come up and back a little bit because right now it's sitting right on the tire. So I'm going to hold it so you can get a visual, and then I can see it later when I look at the video too. And I'm thinking something like that. Should be about how it looks. So, the next step is figure out how exactly I'm going to mount it. And I know you can see it looks a little rough right in here where I hit it with the grinder. I may need to massage that a little bit and fine tune the edges because it almost took the curvature out of it. Looks kind of stop signy. But I think it's going to be fine. And just at a glance, I do think I'm going to want to round that front end off because straight on, it just doesn't look aerodynamic or anything. See what I mean? It's just like, blah, here I am. So I think if it were rounded a little bit in the front, it would just aid in the visual aspect of things. Well, there's a start. There's a start. What do you think about that? That looks a little more friendly, doesn't it? I decided while I was contemplating the mounting fixtures, I'd go ahead and round that front end off a little bit. And yeah, I like that better. Oh, I do. Still got to figure out how I'm going to mount it though. I got a couple different ideas I'm toying with, and I don't know. It's just not flowing, you know? Like sometimes it does. Sometimes you just go, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and you do that. Sometimes you got to think about it, and think about it, and think about it. And then you got to think about it. So that's what I'm doing. I guess I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I'll let you know when I figure out what I'm going to do. Well, boys and girls, doggone if I didn't run out of light. And so I'm going to have to roll it back in the shop for tonight and wait till tomorrow. I'm not going to try to do it out here in the dark. I'll mess it up for sure. I know I will. But I'm happy with the way it looks. So, to be continued, as they say. I'll finish this up in the morning. Alright. That's what's up.